Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Justin Glover back with part 2 of this 3-part free content series that we're doing for you. If you missed part 1, definitely go back and check that out, but I'm going to do a quick recap for you here. But before I do that, I just want to remind you what this series is about. And essentially, the whole purpose and the reason that we're doing this is because we want to give you something. We've got about 3 months left in 2014, and we want to give you something that you can use to really pick up momentum, regardless of if you're brand new and just starting out, to really kickstart the rest of this year and go into 2015 just kicking butt and taking names. Or if you've already got a business and you just want some more momentum and a lot of momentum behind you going into that new year. So I want you to finish up strong 2014 regardless of how experienced or where you're at in the process. So that's what we're doing in this free content series. And in part 1, I explained sort of the first initial thought process that you've got to have, regardless of what you're doing, what business you're building, what your objectives are. The first things you've got to have, and you've got to understand that every successful person, entrepreneur, that is building successful businesses, doing successful things within those businesses, they have 2 things. Number 1 is they have a proven process that they follow. And number 2 is they have the discipline to follow that process. Okay? And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the discipline part in much greater detail in part 3 of this series. But today what I want to do is actually talk a little bit more about the process, and then in another video below, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the approach. So part 1, again, the 2 things that you need to be successful: a process and discipline. In this part 2, what I'm going to do is give you the first 2 steps to really getting started. Okay, and these will be the steps, and I'm going to use an example, a real life example here, because many of you are more than likely in the business building market in some way. You're following us, you're a fan of myself and Brenda and Results 513 because you're building a business and you want help getting better results doing that. Doesn't matter what business, or if it's network marketing or an offline business or direct sales or affiliate marketing or whatever. Chances are that's the reason that you follow us. So I'm going to use that as an example. And if you're doing something else, feel free to apply this. I'm going to give you some homework and have you run through a couple of things towards the end of this video, give you a little exercise to start thinking about that you can take this and apply it to your specific situation. So the first thing that you've got to do, by the way, if you did not get a chance to watch all of video 1, go back and do that. There's a link here on this page. Go back and check out that particular blog post, because there's I talk a little bit more about some stuff in depth, and you're going to want to see that. And it's going to make sense, and you really need to go through these in order, because we're going to be doing a live training more in depth where we really go all out and really get a lot of this stuff covered, and we walk through our process really meticulously. But in order for you to get the most out of that and for it to make total sense, quite frankly, you really need to go through these other ones first. So that's sort of the first thing if you want to really kick off the end of this year. Figure out, okay, you got to understand, I need a process and I need to have discipline. Well, let's dive into the process right now. Step 1 is you need to know what you want to accomplish and why you want it. All right, now this actually applies to whatever you're doing, but I'm going to use business and online business as the example, and I'm going to actually answer these. But step 1 is know what you want to accomplish and why you want it. Okay. Step 2 is to know what ingredients you actually need to accomplish it. I talked about baking a cake yesterday, and you've got to have the right ingredients, and you've got to follow them in the right order. Well, you've got to know what those ingredients are, know what you have to accomplish what you want to accomplish, right? So let me give you an example. In building a successful business, all right, so step 1, what do I want to accomplish and why? Well, I want to build a successful business because I'm tired of working for a boss, and I don't want to have to worry about money again, all right? That would be a typical example that we see. So that's step 1. We know what we want to accomplish, build a successful business, and why we want it. Now, the why we want it will tie in to the leverage piece that we're going to really talk about in part 3. Because when you have those days and when you're just sort of down, you don't feel like doing stuff, if you think about why you're actually doing what you're doing and why you started building the business, then that will oftentimes give you a lot of enough leverage and enough kick in the butt to actually get up and do what you need to do. But we'll get into that part later. What I want to walk through is just this first piece. So I want to build a successful business, and I want to do it because I'm tired of working for a boss and I don't want to have to worry about money. Okay, so that's the step one. Step two, know what ingredients to accomplish it. Well, let's look at that. What does it take to build a successful business? Well, you need three things actually. All right, number one, you need something to sell. And if you're in this industry, in this market, this probably isn't new to you, but I want you to actually go through and just sort of bear with me here and go through this. And I apologize, there's a police or fire truck or something around here outside, so if you can hear that, my apologies. We're just kind of going from the cuff here. So step one is, or the first thing you need is something to sell. The second thing you need is someone to buy it. And the third thing that you need is a system to connect those two. All right, so something to sell, someone to buy it, and a system to connect those two. That's the high level steps that I'm asking you to take. All right, figure out what you want and why you want it, then just figure out what you need. All right, once you figure that part out, then you can really you're ready to get specific and build out your execution plan and figure out, okay, I know what ingredients I need. Now I need to figure out step one, step two, step three, step four, because I know what I'm trying to do and I know what I need to do it. All right. And this is a very good zoom out point when you start building these steps out and this execution plan out. Sometimes it gets a little hairy, and sometimes you sort of get way in and like you run off on these little rabbit trails because there's so much stuff and different ways and different options to actually build this out. And it's really good when you get overwhelmed and you start, and by the way, that's what actually causes overwhelm and this, feeling of just drinking from a fire hose. But when that happens, you have this zoom out point. You can say, okay, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Here's why I want to accomplish it. And here's the only things I need. Something to sell. Out of all this work that I've been doing, do I have something to sell? Yes, then I can move on. The next thing, someone to buy it. Do I have the capability of putting what I'm selling in front of somebody? Do I know who is buying it? And you can dive into that section of it. And then do I have the system to connect the two? If not, maybe I have part of it. Which parts am I missing? That sort of thing. So this is a really good zoom out point, and just it's a place that you can always come back to sort of get that sense of control when you start to feel overwhelmed and just not really sure what to do because there's so many things coming at you. So that is the example here. All right, and like I said, once you understand this, the next step is to actually go into detail and really dive in and build that detailed execution plan. So you dive into these three components and you say, okay, how do I build this out? How do I build this out? How do I build this out? What do I need? And that's what we're going to do in part three. We're going to go in great detail. It's going to be about 60 to 90 minutes. We're going to do this live so that we can actually answer questions for you if you have them. But we're going to go into detail, walk you through our exact process, through the process that we follow, to build 6- and 7-figure businesses on the internet. So we're going to walk you through this. That's the next step once you understand these two things that I've taught you in part 1 and part 2. All right. Then you're ready to build that out. And then the final piece, once you have that built out and you start executing in it and you start actually implementing, is the leverage, getting the leverage on yourself. And it's that follow through, that discipline to follow through. Okay. Now that's what we're really going to give you the solution for as well on the webinar, because if you don't have the discipline to follow through, if you ever bought a product and not followed through, then you know what I'm talking about here. It's like I said yesterday, it's not because we no longer want that desired result. It's simply because we don't have the appropriate things in place that we need. And I gave you 2 of them in part 1, so go back and watch that if you missed it. But we're going to go in more detail on the webinar. So here's what I want you to do right now. Okay, here's what I want you to do right now. This is your homework. First thing, figure out, and I want you to write down, what do you want to accomplish and why? Number 2, what ingredients do you need to accomplish that? And what I'd actually like you to do is write your answer down on a piece of paper. If you would like, write it down in the comments below. Even if there's 100 people in front of you that have the exact same thing, going through the process of actually writing it down will definitely, it will solidify it for you more, all right? And the third thing that I want you to do is register for the webinar that we're doing. Register for the live training. There's a link here below. Make sure you're ready to go. You've got your alarm set, and that's it. We're going to cover everything else. We're going to walk through our exact process from start to finish that we've used. We're going to show you how to have that discipline, how to put triggers in place, and develop that inevitable thinking that you need to make sure that not only you have a process, you've got a proven process, and you also are going to have the discipline to follow through. So we've got a lot of great stuff. We're very, very excited to share this with you on this webinar. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks again. Leave your comments below. Let us know that you're excited about coming to the webinar, and we'll see you there. Go ahead and get registered now. Set your alarm so you don't miss it, and we'll talk soon.